Hello fans of the modular shed. Horrible day today. Let's get in the dry. Yeah, and while it's cold and I've got my coat on today, cold and wet and quite windy out there, in here it's quite nice. Yeah, a bit of rain got in there, but it's dry over here. So I put a little bit of wall on that side. It doesn't quite reach the top yet. And coming around here, I've got a little bit of wall on this side, and this is the hedge side, so I'm using the OSB. So I thought I'd show you how the bottom piece of OSB, because I only bought one piece from Wicks, how it sort of fits in place. So the first thing I do is fit that blue batten at the tips of the floorboards, and that's screwed with these screws at a slight angle and near the edge of the batten, and there's another one there, and they're screwed into the equivalent of this. So you've got half, these tips go over half the main, no, this is a 4x2 support joist just to support the tips, so my batten just sits on the other half of that 4x2, so that takes the floor effectively out to the tip of the post on either side, so you've got a fairly good seal. Now there's nothing of course sealed under these floorboards yet, but they will have insulation put under them and under battening to hold the insulation up. So then it's a case of getting this OSB pulled against the posts on the outside and held in place with these brackets and screws. So let me undo this screw. It's a pretty small screw, and there's only one. I mean, you could have two. You could have more of these brackets, of course. Let's take that out. It's only that long, tiny really. And now you can see that the board is loose to move out. So I'll undo the screw at the other end and move the board off, so you can see really how it's attached. And now that both those screws are out, this board is free to be lifted out. I'll put it down there just for the moment, and so you can see that this bottom panel doesn't need lifter brackets because the blue bar across the bottom is in effect the lifter. So let's put it back on here, centralize it, line up the screw holes, which is about there. And so yeah, this one's held up just by that blue bar. The next one up, that sits here, will probably sit on a lifter bracket, so that takes the weight. I don't think I used lifter brackets on the other panels of these in the other modules. I think I just simply sat them on top of here, and all the weight was on that bottom blue bar. But of course, once these screws are in and you have multiples of these brackets, then yes, that does hold some of the weight. And if I do this screw up, you can see how it works as a puller bracket. As I tighten it, it pulls the panel towards the bracket, and then there comes a point where the OSB sits against the post on the outside, and now further tightening bends the bracket ever so slightly, so there's a bit of a sort of sprung pull. So this is held really quite hard. Okay, I don't have the screw at the other end, but I can put that in, and then this will be rigid and won't flap about like that. And on the other side, the opposite side, I've got feather edge panels. These have the blue battens, which again are pulled in with these puller brackets. This one again is sitting on a blue bar at the bottom, puller bracket there, and then as we come up there's a lifter bracket there, so that bracket takes the weight of this second module, because these walls are built in three sections: a bottom section, a center section, and it's not there yet, but there will be a top section. So once again, lifter bracket there, puller bracket there. That one went slightly wonky because you drill holes and the drill slips, but it doesn't really matter too much. I could have moved this up half an inch and drilled the holes again, But yeah, there's the screw pulling this panel in. There is only that one bracket on there. Yeah, there's not one at the top. I put some bars in the center, and so here's a bracket which just sort of aligns. It's an aligning bracket. It aligns these two pieces. There's a small gap in there, and on the other side, once again, a lifter bracket and a puller bracket. There isn't one further up, no, just the one puller bracket, and in fact having one at this point quite low down pulls this sufficiently. This is pretty solid, that's not moving anywhere. So yeah, lifter, puller and aligning brackets, and at the bottom the blue battens just sit on that blue bar. And to finish this wall I need to put on a third panel. Typically I use 5 of these 6-inch feather edge. Of course they have an overlap, so that doesn't quite add up to 5 by 6. It's not 30 inches. It's a bit less, 24 maybe. But up here, of course, there's an issue because the roof follows the slope of the garden, so there will be a little bit of fiddling about to do. You can see where I've joined this support piece to the previous one. I didn't want to take this out and put in a longer one because it's kind of glued on where the foam insulation is. That acts as a glue, and so this would be quite hard to take out, so I've just extended it. I'm not too fussed about the aesthetics of this thing, I want it to be functional. So there's this piece that's supporting the roof up there. It's at a jaunty angle. Then I need to put in another piece which will be screwed here and run across here, so that that creates a sort of two piece, that piece and this piece angle, and then I can spray foam into these gaps to seal this up. So I need to cut, put angled cuts on, a mitre cut, another of this 1x4, and run it down along here, and then I can put the panel consisting of feather edge, this panel, against that 1x4 and close off that gap. So I need to go back to Wicks and buy 2 more pieces of this. It's 1220 by 606 they call it. This one was actually 609 I think, or 608. 2 more pieces of that to take the wall up to the top. These were £18 I think in Aylesbury Wicks, but I went to High Wycombe Wicks and they dropped to £16, so maybe the prices of timber and other wood products is starting to fall, just maybe. It's not set to be a very nice day today, although there is just the merest glimpse of some blue sky over there, but I don't suppose I'll be doing much work on this today. So that's the current state of the 2-module extension. I've got 1/3 of a wall on the right and 2/3 of a wall on the left. I can bring those 2 temporary walls out to fill these 2 gaps that we're looking at, so not much more materials needed to close this all off and have my new 5-module bigger shed. Goodbye.